Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back for another Tuesday Night Live. I am Teresa Harper, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Oregon in the United States. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate you taking time from your busy day, and I hope everybody is staying cool. We're not used to this high heat here in Oregon, and it is pretty warm today. Much above my liking, that's for sure. Okay, let's go ahead and refresh my screen here and see if I can see who's on and mute that button so we don't get a double back. We don't need to hear my voice twice echoing back at me. All right, hello, Cynthia. So glad to see you on tonight. Thanks for joining me. Okay, let's go ahead and did you get your cardstock sorted out? I came home and took a breather. Yeah, sat out on the deck. My brain was so overloaded I couldn't remember things. Oh, it's been a day. I did enjoy some outdoor time though, and I'm looking forward to stargazing tonight. So, we are going to be using some July online exclusives tonight. We're using the Charming Day bundle, and then I'm going to pair that with a annual catalog, one of the brand new annual catalog bundles, Sunshine Vibes, for a card, for our first card. And this is that set. Has coordinating dies. So we're going to make a card with those two sets for our first one. And then I'm going to combine this with another one for the second one. Oh, good. I'm glad you did. All right. So let's go ahead. Well, it's only 7:02. I should not get in a rush. That's what my friend tells me. Got to give people time to find me before I get started. All right. So anyway, let's talk about our Charming Day stamp set. This is an 8-piece red rubber cling mount stamp set. All of the stamps are not in here because we're going to be using them. So I've already got them pre-mounted. And then if you get the bundle, then you get this set of coordinating dies. And 3 of these dies cut out the images. And then the rest of these are what I like to call standalone or extra dies. And these ones are pretty beautiful. I will show you the third box in our fold flat series. I haven't posted this yet, but I'm going to go ahead and show it to you. This uses this Charming Day and one of those detailed die right here. I need to put a little mini Stampin' Dimensional there because that one seems to want to keep flipping around where it shouldn't. So let's just go ahead and add it while we're waiting for people to jump on. Hello, Jennifer. And that way I won't have to worry about that ripping off. Might have got it too close to the edge, darn it. Wouldn't you know? There we go. Now I won't have to worry about that. Anyway, this is the box, that third fold flat box in the series. I'll get this posted on Facebook here in the next day or so. I still need to take my photos and get that up. But if you've been following me on that journey last week, you know we talked about that. My gals, we had crop on Saturday, and my gals got to make those. So I think everybody had a fun time. Hello, Laura. Thank you for joining me. Okay, I think it's okay to go ahead and get started. So let's move the Charming Day stamp set and die. And if you need that, the bundle number is 166136 if you need that bundle number. Okay, let's move those out of the way and let's bring in our pieces. Okay, so like I said, we're also using the Sunshine Vibes. This is in the 2025-2026 annual catalog. It is a photopolymer stamp set, and then it has 11 dies. And these dies don't actually cut out anything from the stamp set. They loosely coordinate. Okay, so we've got a couple of blends that we're going to be using, and it's just Strawberry Slush and Pretty Peacock. I've already done the coloring to save us some time. And our ink colors are Pretty Peacock, Strawberry Slush, and Old Olive. And this is the Global Design Project Challenge for this week. It was a color challenge, and these were the colors. So I went ahead and used those colors. So I'm pretty excited for you to see what I did. We also are using the Pack Your Bags Twine 3-pack. This has Azure Afternoon, Shy Shamrock, and Strawberry Slush. And we're going to be using the Strawberry Slush. And then I'm using the Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink Gems. And this number is 165615 if you need that number. These are so pretty. Okay. And then we need a sponge dauber. All right, so let's set these things aside. So we need them. And let's bring in our pieces. We're going to start with a card base in Pretty Peacock. This is a standard A2, 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the center at 4.25. Lost my brain thought there for a minute, you guys. Been having those all day today. Okay. We're going to need a piece of the Strawberry Slush two-tone cardstock. And I've cut this piece at 1.5, and it needs to be 1.5 by 5.5. So I'll be cutting that down as I need to. Okay. Then you're going to need an extra scrap of Pretty Peacock. And from the Pretty Peacock, you're going to cut out this die right here. Okay. And from Basic White, I took a 1/4 sheet of cardstock and I cut out this die, cuts this piece here, and you get all of those pieces falling out. It does not cut out the piece, okay? So this die just cuts out the little rainbow pieces. But if you want to cut the whole thing out, then you take this die along with this die that I cut this with, stack those together, and it will cut out the whole thing. Okay, but we're not doing that tonight. That's not how our card is going to go together. So that away, and then out of Basic White, I pre-did all this to save us a bunch of time. I cut one each of these 4 dies in Basic White. Okay, and I think that is all of our die cutting. Okay, so I got that all out of a 1/4 sheet of cardstock. And then you still have room of your flowers. So we're going to take from the Charming Day. We're going to take this stamp. We need 2 of these. Okay, so we're going to stamp that down. And then you'll need to grab an extra scrap piece of white. Okay. And finally, we're going to take a piece of white cardstock that is about a 1/2 inch by 2 inches, and I want to show you how I did this. What I did for this was I took a 1/2 inch scrap piece of cardstock. Okay, so we'll just cut a 1/2 inch. And then from the More Messages dies, they have one of these that has this edge, and really all I did was I stamped my hello. Let me get my hello. We'll stamp our hello. Okay. Just gonna stamp that right over here on the left edge. Okay. So we've got that. Then we're going to take any one of the dies. I have pre-cut a bunch of the pieces from the More Messages dies. This was my cheater way of doing it to make sure that I had mine just the right size. I took one of these that was 2 inches long, and then I laid this on here like so. Cut and cut. And now I have my sentiment. Okay? And I actually cut that too short. I needed that to be 2 inches long. What was I thinking there? Okay, is that the right angle? Yep. Shoot. Let's take that again. Goodness gravies. I need this to be about 2 inches long. And this does not have, the More Messages dies does not have one that's about 2 inches long. So let's see. This one needs to be just a tiny bit longer here. So I'm just going to go about like that. Cut that off. Okay, and then you can make your banner any length you want to make it. Okay, so this is about the size I want. Let's set that aside. We can use that for another project for sure. All right, so that's another way to use your More Messages and do it quickly without cutting extras. All right, so we have that sentiment. That's our sentiment piece, and it's ready to go. And then we're going to take our blends, and where, oh, I put my Old Olive in the other. So we've got Old Olive and Dark Old Olive. So what I'm going to do for my Old Olive here, I'm going to take my dark on my leaves, and I'm just going to flick in some color here. Okay, and I would do that with both of the ones that I stamped. And then I'm going to go back in here. See how this end is going to do. I might need to replace this end. And then I'm just going to blend those in. Fill that in. I need a new tip on this light Old Olive. This one's protesting all the use it's had. So we're just going to color those in real quick. And of course, we're doing both flowers. Okay. And then we're going to take our Strawberry Slush. And I'm just going to flick in some dark. fill that in with the light strawberry slush and blend where they overlap. Like that. Okay, and then for the center of my flower, I took the dark, pretty, well, actually I started with, and I'm just going to take and dab in some color. Okay, and I'm leaving some white space there on purpose. And then I'm going to take my dark, pretty peacock. I'm going to dab in some dark. Okay, and there's my flower. Now, the final step for my flower is to grab the wing over here where I need it, though. Okay, so we're going to use that color again in our next project. Then we're going to take some Wink of Stella. I'm going to add that to the petals of my flower. Okay, and of course, again, I'm doing 2 flowers, but I don't need this one. Now, there is a die to cut this out, but I'm going to be honest with you. It left too much white space for my liking for this project, so I fussy cut mine. Okay, and here they are, already pre-done. So we've got those. Now let's start putting our piece together here. Let's bring in our white rainbow pieces right there. And then we have a card front. And this is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And we're going to do something with that in just a minute. But let's go ahead and bring in a silicone mat here. And let's add our pieces. Now you could use adhesive sheets for this. Oh my goodness, I don't want to move now that they're on the mat. Okay, but I did not do that. So I'm just going to take some Tombow liquid glue and I'm just going to put some little dots here and there. Because remember, a little goes a long way here. Dot, 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 not a lot. And that's how you keep from getting a mess. Okay. Now the key to this is to line it up at the bottom and try to get those evenly spaced. Okay, so I've got my bottom there, and now I can press that down. Then I'm going to go in with my solid piece, which came from that single die. Again, and then we'll put this right here like this, and I'm going to line that up on the bottom again on both sides, and then do the same thing with the next one. And then the squiggly one. Dot, 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 not a lot. Okay, we'll line that up with the bottom again. Well, we will if it'll stay. It's protesting. Man, it's really protesting. Okay, well, this is how we do that. Just like that. Take the back of our block and really stick that down. Put some pressure on it. All right, and finally, we've got this last one that we're going to put right here. And again, there we go. Okay, so this piece is now ready to be handled. So let's put that aside and let it dry for a minute while we do some stamping on here. Okay, this it's a plain little background, and I wanted a little bit of something on there. I just didn't have the right thing. So what I did was, from the Sunshine Vibes stamp set that coordinates with the rainbows, I took this image right here. Okay. Let me pick that up or I'm going to have a mess. And then we're going to take some Strawberry Slush ink. And I'm going to stamp off and stamp on. And we're going to make our own designer series paper. Because I didn't have what I wanted in the color that I wanted. So I'm just going to go in here and randomly stamp until I fill up this background. For the most part, now I know that I don't really need, I don't really need anything through here, and I'm going to put a piece of cardstock over there. So the very middle doesn't need to be done because you're not going to see it. The hardest part of this is remembering to stamp off in between. Okay, that's going to be perfect. And we'll put that aside, and we'll put this aside. Okay, so let's take this, and let's add this to our card, okay? So we're going to add this piece to our card. And this is going to be a landscape card. Hello, Tracy. Okay, so we're going to put that on. And then we're going to take this piece, which is the two-tone Strawberry Slush. I'm going to take the light side, and I'm going to run this clear across. So I want this to be 5.5 inches long. And in order to make sure that that's going to do what I want it to do, I'm going to go to about right here. And then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to run it up there. Like so. Let's make sure that's even on that side, and then we'll give that a press. And then I'm going to take this and open it up and trim off that excess. Okay, and now I know that I'm not too short. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and add this piece here. I'm just going to use some Stampin' Seal for that. this about right here. I don't want my strawberry, I want it to go below my strawberry slush. I don't want strawberry slush cardstock showing out from the bottom there. And I'm not going to press that knit there. And this is going to be just about the way I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a press down now. And I'm going to take my flowers, okay? And I don't like these 3 sets of leaves here for this card. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to trim both of those off, okay? One of these I don't need, and one of these I. And we'll get some Stampin' Dimensionals. We'll put a Stampin' Dimensional here and a Stampin' Dimensional here. And then we're going to take this and we're going to put one about right here. And again, I'm just setting it down. And I put my other one about here. Actually, I'm going to move this one. Put that about like that. Okay. Now I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to take this 3-piece leaf that I cut off. And I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue on there. And then I'm just going to put that in right like so and give that a press. All right, we're almost finished. Now I'm going to take our sentiment and I'm going to put 2 large Stampin' Dimensionals and 1 mini, because the minis are just slightly thinner than the regular size, and that will allow for the difference in my cardstock here. So I'm just going to set that right there like so, making sure that's straight. And then we're going to bring in that strawberry slush ribbon or baker's twine from the 3-pack. And these were in a publication before, but now they are last year's annual catalog, but now they're online only. Oh my goodness, you guys, I put my black ink pad in my white scrap bin. Okay, so I'm going to take this, and I wanted this to be substantial. So I'm going to wrap this 3 times. And I want to make sure I'm not actually overlapping my twine, because I want those to separate easily. And I'm just going to give this a good tie. All right. Tie that nice and tight. Give that a trim. And then we will spread those loops out a bit, like so. And then we're going to take a glue dot. And I'm going to set that in my glue dot. Give that a press. And then I'm going to use a second glue dot for this. So I'm just going to lift it up and put it on the second glue dot. And then we're going to take this and set it down here. Press that in well. All right. Now we're going to take our Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink Gems. And I'm going to use the Strawberry Slush, which is here on the bottom. And I'm going to put one here. That's a small one. And then I'm going to put a larger one here. And then I'm going to put a larger one down here. I'm going to give those a press. So I'm happy with their placement with my Take Your Pick tool. And that is the front of our card. It's a mashup between Sunshine Vibes and Charming Day. And remember, this is the challenge for Stampin' Up! This month. So you can make a card and post it and put hashtag Creative Challenge SU. And Stampin' Up! Will take a look at your projects. So this is the inside of my card, and because this just says hello, I'm not putting an inside sentiment in, but I did take that same stamp that we used out here and just run it along the bottom for some decoration. This could be a hello, I appreciate you so much, hello, I hope you're having a happy birthday, whatever. So there we are, and here's a matching envelope. I stamped that in Memento Tuxedo Black, and then I used the ink pads and a blending brush with Old Olive, Strawberry Slush, and Pretty Peacock just to give us a matching set of stationery. Thanks, guys. I'm glad you like that. All right, so let's go ahead and set, well, I'm going to leave that one there for just a minute you to take a look at while I pick a few things up so I don't have a complete disaster and I can't find stuff for the next project, as often happens. Okay, so let's switch those all out and grab the next project. Okay, here we go. Project number 2. So for this one, I decided to pull in some other things. So we're still going to be using the Charming Day. And then I'm going to use Just a Note. And this is an online exclusive bundle that came out in July. It comes with this stamp set and these dies. And the bundle number for this is 166102. The bundle itself is only $37.75. It's one of our least expensive. And I think it's wonderful. It's different from what we've had before, and I really like that. And then from Notes and Totes, this is I think this is the brand new catalog. It does have coordinating dies, but we are not using those today. And what we're going to use from this is the Just a Note. That's what I want. There is a sentiment in this one called Just a Note, but this was smaller than what I wanted and not the same font. So we're going to be pulling in the Notes and Totes Just a Note here. Okay. So for this, I'm using kind of an odd pairing, I think, but it matches the Floral Charm Designer Series paper, which we will be using. And the colors in the Floral Charm Designer Series paper are Berry Burst, Blackberry Bliss, Pretty Peacock, Mossy Meadow, Night of Navy, and Timid Tiger. So here's just a look at that paper, a quick flip through. I could have used any of these, but I chose the Blackberry Bliss piece. Oh, All my pieces just fell on the floor. Great. Hang on. Let's see if they stayed in their little baggie. Yay. Okay, so our ink pads are Timid Tiger. This is one of the 25 to 27 in colors, and Blackberry Bliss. Okay, I've got a piece of Timid Tiger cardstock for our card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the center at 4.25. So let's go ahead and burnish that. This card will be in not landscape, but portrait. Okay, I didn't fold that very well, so let's see if I can even that up and fix that score. All right, there we go. So we've got that. I pre-cut this die, this note paper die from Basic White. I did my coloring and stuff ahead of time too. I've got a piece of the Blackberry Bliss for Floral Charms. This piece is 3.5 by 4.75. And then I've got my inside piece, which is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. And I took a piece of that matching paper and put that for the inside. And then you're going to need a scrap of old olive, and from that you're going to cut this die right here, and that's going to give you 2 paper clips. Okay, this is actually Mossy Meadow, not Old Olive. This one's Old Olive, but I cut them in both, and we're going to be using the Old Olive one that was left over from my first card. Okay, so that's what they look like when you cut them out. So you'll need a scrap of, here's my white scrap, and my paper, and then from your you'll need some Basic White, and we need to stamp the image 3 times. So I'm going to show you what I did. I took a scrap piece of paper and I pre-stamped this in this thing here. Then I'm taking 2 2x2 pieces of cardstock, which I don't have cut, but let me do that real quick. Okay, so move this over, bring this up. We need 2 that are 2x2. Okay, and you're thinking, wow, that's not going to fit. And you're right, it's not, but it's okay. I need to move these dirty stamps. They're going to get all over my clean cardstock. That's not going to be good. Okay, so we've got 2 by 2. So I need those. And then I just need a piece of cardstock that'll fit this. So if I cut this at 3 by 4, that will be plenty big enough for what I need. Okay. And then we just set those extra scraps aside. Okay. So let's take one of these. And we're going to put this in here. And we're going to take Memento Tuxedo Black because we're using our Stampin' Blends to color. And I'm going to show you a little technique that I use to color the leaves on here. So let's get our thing here. Right. And that's why I have my scrap paper. Okay. Give that a little press. I'm not really putting any pressure on it. And then one more time, we're going to get that center flower. Okay. Let's move these ink pads out of the way. They're in my way. And we aren't using them at the moment, so let's move those. Okay, so then we've got this. All right, and we're good. That's what we need. Now let's set this aside, and I'll show you how I colored the leaves and the flowers here. Okay, so let's bring in our colors. These are the colors that we're using. Light Old Olive, dark, nope, I didn't use the dark crumb cake. That was for something else. Light Berry Burst, and both of the Timid Tigers. Okay. In addition, I have my watercolor pencils in Crushed Curry and Daffodil Delight. Okay. So let's scoot this in here. I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to start with my leaves. I'm going to take my light Mossy Meadow. And again, I'm just going to color these in like this. I'm not going to color all of these because I've already got this done and die cut. Okay, so we've got that. Then we're going to take our light Old Olive. And we're going to blend that in. Just like that. Okay. So we've got that, and we would do that with all of those leaves. And then we're going to take Crushed Curry with the watercolor pencil. And I'm just going to color along the edge of the leaf on each leaf petal, and it not necessarily the same side each time. Okay, I want you to see the difference, so I'm not going to color those two. So this is what we have when we put that Crushed Curry in there. Okay, I hope you can see that. Lots of internet glitches tonight, really? Sorry about that. Okay, so we've got that. Then I'm going to take my blender pen. These come in a pack of 3. And I'm just going to run that over that Crushed Curry and just blend that out a bit. And then all you have to do to clean that off is just run it till it comes clear. Okay, so now can you see the difference between the one I used the Crushed Curry on and the one I left? It just gives it a little bit more life. Okay, so now for our flower, I'm going to take the Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to randomly put some and really on this big flower, the only part that I need to worry about is these petals right here. I don't need to worry about any of these. Okay, so I've got that. Then I'm going to take my dark Timid Tiger, and anywhere the petals overlap, I'm going to dab in some dark Timid Tiger. Okay. And like I said, you don't need to worry about the center on this, but you're going to color both of these small flowers the same way. Okay. So let's take the light Timid Tiger now. we're going to go back and color the whole flower. And really, I don't need to color the whole flower. I'm just going to color these outer petals because that's the part that counts. Okay. All right. So there's that. Then I would color this flower the same way, and I need to color this whole flower. All right. And then I'm going to color these two. And when I get that done, I'm going to take these two once they're colored, and I'm going to pick the best one. And I'm going to cut the very center out of here, like this. Just going to hand cut that, and I'm trying to cut right on the line. Okay, so now I've got that. Then for this one, I need to cut the whole flower, but I'm going to cut right on the line. Normally we tell you to leave a white border, but not for this. Whoops. Oops. I missed a petal. And then we just cut this out like this. There we go, almost done. Okay, so there's our flower. All right. So then we can set that aside, and all our coloring is done. Okay, so let's go ahead and stamp our pieces, and let me show you what that all looks like once it's done. Here we go. And then I added Wink of Stella on all of my flowers here. So you've got the full piece, then the single flower, and then you've got the flower center. Okay, now let's set those aside. And let's get our pieces. So we have the note paper. Now we need to stamp our note in here. So I'm going to bring in my stamp positioner tool, and I'm going to put this right in the corner here. I've already set this. I just set it on here until I was happy with how it looked, and then picked it up with the door. And then I'm just going to ink that up. Make sure that's where I want it in the corner. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I want this to go up just a tiny bit. I don't think I have it positioned quite right. There we go. Yeah, that's how I want it. Just like that. Okay. There we go. And then we've got our notebook paper. We can set that aside because we're done with that. Let me wipe this off because I don't have ink, scrap paper in there at the moment, and I don't want ink everywhere. So we'll just wipe that off with our chamois and then set that aside. Okay. So for this piece now we need to stamp our sentiment on here. So we're going to take that Just a Note from the Notes and Totes bundle right here. And we're going to take Blackberry Bliss ink. And so that I can see where I want that to go, I'm going to put this down here like this, kind of. Just set it there. And I'm going to put this up here like this. Okay. Now we've got that. We can put that aside. All right. Now again, we're going to stamp something on our, this time we're going to do it right on the card base. So we're going to bring in that scrap paper. And also from the Notes and Totes, we're going to use this little dotty stamp. And we're going to stamp the outside edge. And this time, let me get these out of the way. This time we're going to use Timid Tiger. So we're going to use Tone on Tone. Yep, I think I stamped off. So we're just going to go around here. Actually, maybe I didn't. No, let's just do this. It's fine. It's going to be fine. And I'm just going to randomly stamp and keep turning my paper. And my stamp. I'm going to go over those lighter ones. Okay, and I think I'm going to go in just a little, why am I doing that? Just a little bit further, just to make sure that everything is covered how I want it to be. There we go. Now I know for sure we're good. So we'll do that. And now we're ready to start putting our card together. Okay, so we're going to add this, but before we can do that, we need to add this. Okay, and then I need to get my little paper clip. Okay, so I've got the old olive one. We're going to add this on, and I am not going to put it on straight. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little cattywampus, like so. And then this is going to go on here. So I'm going to put a tiny bit of glue right here at the tip of that small piece right there. Okay. And then I'm going to carefully put that down where I want it. All right. And then I'm going to give that a press. Just like that. All right. Now, so this piece doesn't flop, I don't want to glue it. It's such a tiny little piece, I didn't want to glue it. So what are we going to do? We're going to take a little piece of tear and tape, and we are just going to set that down across the back of our paper clip. Okay? And then we might as well use this as some adhesive. So we'll take the backing off. And then we'll just add some Stampin' Seal. And we'll put this on here, but this is going to go on straight. Okay, so we've got that. Put that down. Now we're going to take our flower. And I'm just going to take my thumb and gently rake that across. You could use your bone folder. And give those leaves a little bit of texture. Okay? And I'm going to do the same thing with this flower. Just the edges. Okay? And then again, I'll do that. Okay, so now we're going to take out our glue dots. And I wanted to give these some height, but I didn't want the height of a dimensional. So I'm just going to double my glue dot. Okay, give it up. Don't stick to my finger. And double these up. So I've turned 6 glue dots into 3. And I'm going to put one in the center of the small center flower. And then I'm just going to put these, 2 of them, a little bit in. Well, actually, let's do 3. Let's do 3. But I'm putting them more in the center than at the edge, because I want those petals to look like they're lifting up. Okay? So then all I have to do is line my flower up. And you will see that flower that you colored underneath around the edges. That's why we colored it. And then we just need to figure out how this goes. Put this in like this. Set that in there. And then you can use liquid glue or Stampin' Seal. I'm just going to put this down flat because we already have enough dimension. And we're going to stick this right down here. Like so. And finally, we need to add our gems. So I brought in from the Painterly Pairs online exclusives the low profile sparkle dots 166157. And all the online exclusives means is that they're not in any publication. You'll find them in the online store. And if you have the number, you don't even have to look. Just type the number in and it'll pop right up there for you. Okay, so we're going to take, I'm using the Mossy Meadow. And I'm going to put one over here. And take one of the bigger ones and put down here. And another one of the smaller ones and put right there. Okay, happy with that. So I'm just going to give those a good press. Then we'll stick our inside piece in. And finally, there is our envelope. So I stamped the just a note here, and then this timid tiger text is from the Elements of Text. I'm not sure where I put that. Oh, here it is, right where it's supposed to be. So that's this one. You know I like this one a lot, and I use this image right here. And I stamped it off so that it would be lighter. But there we go. So there is card number 2. And here is card number 1. So I hope you like those tonight. Let's probably put those down a little bit. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. That's what I had to share with you. Ah, yay. Thanks, Tracy. I hope you guys will give that colored pencil trick a try. That works really well. And I think that watercolor pencils are a staple in your craft room. So anyway, thanks so much. I will be back live on Thursday night at 7. I have a 3D project for you. It'll be another fold flat box in my series, and this one you will be able to get 2 out of 1 sheet of paper. So stay tuned for that on Thursday night at 7. I hope you can join me, and I will see you then. Oh yes, it's on YouTube, not here on Facebook. All right, good night everybody. Thanks so much. Bye bye.